Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Shahid. You're muted.
Coaching. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
He dies of a natural death. They said that he had the abscess in his lungs that exploded or like popped, and he died from that. SubhanAllah, the medicine back in those days, I guess they weren't able to take that care of that. That's not the way that he dies. I mentioned that he died just a couple days after the birth of his son Muhammad. And he had two sons. Okay, Ismail, his other son, is only 11 years old, and he's going to step into the reign as being the next leader. That's how things work. You can always see problems with that. 11-year-old, it's not going to work. What do you think people are going to do? They're going to try to what? Take advantage of him. Oh, let me take care of him, and whisper in his ear, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And fight over here. Don't fight them. And he's 11-year-old. He probably won't know how to make much decisions, and he'll follow those type of things. So we're going to see some problems with that, if you will. This is his gravesite in Damascus. He was buried in Madrasa Nuriya al-Kubra. It's one of the madrasas, one of the schools that he built, and they made a gravesite for him, and he's buried there. This is like his tomb. I don't think he's above ground. They just kind of make it above ground to show where he's buried at. And so that's still there in Damascus, and that people go visit. You can actually see that there, if you will, right? So that's where he was buried in one of the schools that he established. This is actually one of the coins during his time. I spent a lot of time trying to read this coin. It's very, very hard. Some people wrote of what it actually says on it on the top there and so forth. But these are the coins, and it says his name. And there are always mint coins of the leader at that time on these coins and so forth. So that's Nur ad-Din. Salahuddin comes in. We went over this a little bit last week. 2 weeks ago. I wanted just to mention a little bit about how much he loved listening to Quran, how much he would always, it's mentioned that he would always offer salah in congregation and jama'ah in the masjid. Like he wouldn't miss that at all. And I kind of mentioned that, over there, there's masajid all over the place. It's not like, maybe not like us, you have to drive 10, 15 minutes, nonetheless, even though we should still do it. And he has always given out in wealth. We kind of mentioned that also. If you guys know, in Egypt right now, there's a culture of like people sitting around and listening to a qari recite, right? This is kind of where it starts from. right? He would take people out and he listened to Quran. He loved to listen to Quran and different reciters. That's why Egypt has a really big history of reciters, right? Stemming back from these days where that would be a very big thing that people would come and they'll hear someone recite, everyone would gather around and they have different styles of recitation and so forth. He established schools and libraries. He mentioned that he had a Jewish physician that was taking care of him. So he wasn't, he had different people in his courtroom. He was very big about telling his soldiers to pray Qiyam al-Layl. It's one of the trainings that he will give his soldiers. So you make sure they get up at nighttime and pray Qiyam al-Layl. They always be ready, right? And also have that spiritual grounding in his soldiers of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one thing that he will go around the tents of his soldiers and wake them up and make sure that they have jama'ats and they're praying at nighttime, at least a portion of it, if you will. There's a lot of nice little stories about Salahuddin. Maybe I'll tell a couple of them as we go. There's one of them here where this happens in the Third Crusade. We're jumping a little bit. It's kind of nice to hear the story where a Crusader spy comes up to Salahuddin. And there's someone called Richard the Lionheart. He comes in the Third Crusade. And so the Crusader spy says, I know I could go and poison him and kill him if you want me to, Salahuddin. Just let me know, I could do this. They won't expect me, I'll go inside their lines and do that. And Salahuddin says, no, don't do that, because that is treachery, right? Because you are our Crusader, they're not expecting you. So if you do that, that's treachery. That's something that you shouldn't be participating in. He's like, we're going to kill the general of the Crusades, like the Crusaders. This is something very, very big. But he's like, I don't want to play that way. It's okay. We don't do that, if you will, right? So it's like this justice of that at a time where people didn't have much justice. They were killing people left and right, and children and women. And so Salahuddin was much different. We're going to get a little bit much more stories about him as we go. Okay, we talked about the Zangid dynasty, how it expanded, all these different areas, going all the way down, even past into Yemen. And that's one thing Salahuddin also did, because we mentioned 2 weeks ago that he really wanted to eradicate any Ismaili Shia type influence around. Number one, because he's a strong Sunni and understands that is the correct way. And number two, he doesn't want to get me assassinated and people plotting against him, even though they're still going to plot against him. So he conquers all the way up to like Western Morocco, goes all the way over. There are Muslim lands already, not like he's the first one to be there, but he brings his empire all the way over there, the ones that, that he's working towards. He sends his brother all the way down to Yemen, that they go ahead and stop a Shia uprising in Yemen. And today still have Shia there nonetheless, but he stops the uprising there to make sure they don't have any issues with there. That they had this one guy, Abdul Nabi al-Mahdi, Ibn Mahdi, I think I mentioned this 2 weeks ago also, that he was telling people to do Hajj to his Kaaba, if you will, in Yemen, all right, his area, and don't go to Mecca. Okay, and a couple of people in history tried to do that beforehand, and he claimed to be the Mahdi and so forth. So he did a lot of different things that he expanded the empire, as he's moving on for Nur-ad-Din. We spent a lot of time 2 weeks ago talking about Egypt, and hopefully you guys learned some places about Egypt: Dumyat, Iskenderia, Alexandria, Cairo, obviously the Sinai Peninsula. We're going to learn a lot about Syria, because this is where he's headed to now. Okay, so imagine that this is where Aleppo is. This is Damascus, and so this Nur-ad-Din dies and passes away in Damascus. So these areas all right here are under Nur-ad-Din. Now, right when Nur-ad-Din passes away, each one of these areas have emirs, like governors, if you will. Okay, and now right after Nur-ad-Din passed away, the governor of Damascus thinks he's the one that needs to take care of little Ismail, 11-year-old Ismail. I'll take care of him. I'll be his custodian. I'll help him make decisions. And then the Emir Aleppo says, no. I will do it. Bring him here with me. I will take care of him. I'll, lead him the right way. And so the Damascus Emir doesn't like that the Aleppo one is mentioning that. And of course, Salahuddin, guess what he says? Give him to me, because I don't trust you guys. Okay. So you can see that all these areas were under one leader, Nur-ad-Din. And all of a sudden now, within minutes, it's separated back again. And this is something what Salahuddin was working for so much, to unite the Muslim. Before we go and liberate Jerusalem, we got to be united, right? That has to be worked first and foremost. So he's seeing all this is kind of spreading out already. It's already happening right at the death of Nur-ad-Din, right? Death always of leaders causes much corruption and interesting times, if you will. This is a little bit of zoomed out area here. This is Mosul. So if you guys remember, like once again, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that when Imaduddin, the father of Nuruddin, passed away, he had 2 sons. He had Nuruddin, another one named Ghazi. And so Ghazi took over Mosul and Nuruddin took over Aleppo. Okay. So the one that was Ghazi over here, he passed away. His son now is taking control of Mosul. Okay. But he wants his own kind of like, dictatorship. So Mosul now kind of pulls away. Aleppo has his own kind of leader, emir that wants to be the next leader and take care of Ismail. And then you have Damascus, and you have Damascus that has their own emir. His name is Ibn Muqaddam. We're talking about him in a little bit. That wants it. So you can see really quickly all 3 areas are separating as they all want their own control and power. So we're going to talk a little bit about this map in a bit. Okay. So let's talk about what happened to Salahuddin. So when Nuruddin passes away, Salahuddin's in a battle with the Crusaders, and he defeats the Crusaders. And as the Crusaders are leaving, they send him a letter and said, "Oh yeah, you might have won, but so long to your Nuruddin." And Salahuddin is like, "What do you mean so long to learn? What do you mean that he's gone? What are you talking about?" And he finds out the death about Nuruddin from the Crusaders. Crusaders tell him about that. What's the issue with that? Is there an issue with that? Anyone can pick up on an issue with that?
Are they reliable?
Reliable. Okay, very good, very good. But if Nuruddin passed away and Salahuddin's like with Nuruddin like this, you would think that a messenger will come and say, "Hey, Salahuddin, guess what happened? Nuruddin passed away." Okay. Why didn't the Syrians, we're going to call them Syrians, why didn't the Syrians or those Muslims in Damascus or Aleppo send a message to Salahuddin and let him know? Maybe they don't want him to know. Because guess what? He might arise, but he has all of Egypt. He has much greater land than we have. Okay. And they have much more money because of the Nile River and everything there. So if we let him know, he's going to get a head start and try to say, "Hey, I want power." Okay. And so keep him out of the loop and let's organize as much as possible. So when he does know, we got little 11-year-old Ismail totally brainwashed. And he'll say, "Salahuddin, it's okay, I'm good," et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So he didn't like that right from the bat, that no one told him that. Okay. So he sends letters to the emirs, the Umara, that's in Damascus and in Aleppo, right? Telling them that I am under the rule of his name was Saleh, right? They call him, his nickname was Saleh, right? Saleh ad-Din, right? I'm on the rule of Ismail Saleh. He is my emir, and he starts printing coins with his name on it, Nuruddin's son's name on it. Why did he do that for? To show really quick that I don't want rule. I don't want power. That's not my thing. Okay. So look, I'm showing you that he is my leader. Okay. I'm not trying to grab power. So don't think that you guys, fear me or push me away or anything like this, if you will. Okay. So he sends a letter there. He receives a letter back to the emirs with Nuruddin's son's name on it, but it's written by the emirs of Damascus, stating that we support Saleh, Nuruddin's son Ismail, as the next leader. So to try and tell Nuruddin, "I'm with you, we're with you, no problem, no problem." But what they're really doing at the end is trying to influence him, take over power, and make sure that their decisions are over his decisions. He's 11-year-old. He's not probably going to know too much, if you will. Okay. So here those, he keeps on sending a bunch of letters, right? What Ibn Muqaddam, he is the governor of Damascus. He goes to the Crusaders right away and tells the Crusaders, "I will give you this fort back and this fort back and this fort back, guys. And long we have a truce, are you guys okay with that?" Now, why does he do that for? Because he doesn't want to fight Salahuddin and the Crusaders at the same time. So he gives the Crusaders back certain forts and say, "Are we good? You're not going to attack me. I'm not going to attack you. We're happy." Okay. Because I know Salahuddin's, I have to worry about him. So right away, you see something kind of funny going on. When Salahuddin hears about how Ibn Muqaddam gave the Crusaders back some of these forts that they took a long time to gain, he knew that something was up. And he knew right away that I need to head to Syria. I need to go over there because in Egypt, is sending letters back and forth is not going to be good enough, if you will. Okay. Also, Saifuddin, which is the nephew of Nur ad-Din, he also has a truce with the Crusaders. So he's seeing things that are changing kind of weird. He doesn't really like it at all. But Salahuddin himself has to worry about his own leadership in Egypt because there's remnants of the Ismailis there that are trying to overthrow him and in the realms, if you will. So he can't go ahead and go over to Damascus right away. Okay. So Salahuddin fears that Egypt and Syria will be split back again, and we're going to be separated as, you know, one empire here, one empire over there. He doesn't want to do that at all, right? He sends a letter opposing the decisions of the emirs of giving them back the lands to the Crusaders, and he decides that I'm going to start coming to serve Ismail. I'm going to come back over there. I'm going to meet with them, and we're going to serve him, and we're going to try to take care of what's happening over here. So those in Damascus and Aleppo knows that Salahuddin is coming. Now, Salahuddin, you'll see the one thing about him, he doesn't want to fight Muslims. He already grew up in that era. He saw how bad that was. It's not good for anybody. So he only brings 700 knights with him. He has to bring some people. He can't just walk in there. People, you know, it will take him over, okay? So 700 is not a really big army at all. Okay, some said 1,000. We'll go with 700. So he's trying to show you, I'm coming, but I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm not trying to kill anyone. I'm bringing my, army with me just to protect me. He has to go to Egypt all the way up to Damascus. He has to go through the Crusader lands also. So he needs some protection there, okay? He puts his brother Adil in charge of Egypt, right? Who knows how that's going to go, but he hopefully feels that he will be truthful to him. Takes him 3 months to finally get to Damascus. Why? Anytime he goes to some area, he stops at the border to make sure no one's trying to follow him and trying to kill him. Okay, so he has to go and keep on looking back, establish where he's at, and so he goes slow until he finally gets to Damascus there. When he gets to Damascus, the governor of Damascus, Ibn Muqaddam, opens up the gates for him because he doesn't want to fight him and he knows he's in trouble. Now, Ibn Muqaddam is a leader in Damascus. This name is tough. It's like these Turkish names. I try to practice it before class, but anyhow, I'm going to do my best here. Okay, Gumushdian. He is the emir in Aleppo. Okay, and so remember, these two guys want to both have the custodianship of Ismail, the son of Nur ad-Din. Gumushdian is very smart. He tells Ibn Muqaddam, hey, why don't you come to Aleppo? Bring Ismail with you, and we will take care of him. Salahuddin's coming. He's going to try to get power. Let's kind of work together. Ibn Muqaddam comes over to Aleppo. Guess what Gumushdian does? He takes Ibn Muqaddam, throws him into a pit, and imprisons him. Takes the leaders around Aleppo, tells them, invites him over, imprisons them, so they can't revolt against him. Salahuddin hears the news about this. Knows that this is not going the way that Nur ad-Din will do it. Okay, so Ibn Muqaddam, before he goes home to Aleppo, he hands over Damascus to Salahuddin. Very easy, no fighting. He said, go ahead. So he knows he's going to Aleppo to meet with Gumushdian, right, and work together. So Salahuddin walks into there. People are celebrating. They welcome him, right? They know who he is. He hasn't been to Damascus in a very long time, right? So they let him in, if you will, okay? He gets over there. He appoints his brother. His names are very tough, right? Tushdigin, all these Tushdigins and Gushdigins. Tushdigin as his governor, and says, "You take over Damascus. I'm leaving you here. Please don't backstab me, right? You're my brother. You stay here. I'm going to Aleppo to find out, to get claim of Ismail and make sure he's under my protection, because what they're doing and they're brainwashing him is a whole nother story." Okay, so the emirs, so Salahuddin goes to Aleppo. When he gets to Aleppo, Gumushdian closes the gates on him and doesn't even invite him to come into the city to talk. Remember, he doesn't want to fight. He brings his army, but he sets the army outside the gates, right? Doesn't throw no arrows. They're not throwing catapults at the city, but they lock the gate and they won't let Salahuddin come in. Now that's not showing ta'awun ala birri wa taqwa, right? That's not showing that you want to work together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Gumushdian, what does he do? He has Salahuddin outside his door. right? These guys, whatever you could do to hold your power, right? Doesn't matter, right? Hold your power. He goes to the Crusaders. Hey, Crusaders, I want to be friends with you, right? I'll give you this, I'll give you that. If you help with me to fight against Salahuddin. Crusaders will love that. Remember, they're trying to get back into Egypt. Salahuddin goes down, that works. He goes to the assassin, the Hashashin, right? They're their own crazy group, right? And it says, hey, Hashashin, right? You want to assassinate somebody? You guys look like you guys like doing those type of things? Salahuddin's here. I'll give you money, I'll give you protection. What do you want? Go ahead and do that. Okay. About 2 or 3 times, the Hashashin, dressed as Salahuddin's soldiers, walked with them, entered his tent, and tried to kill him. One time it shows right here where they snuck into his tent, but they caught them, right? All the guys have beards and, they all look the same, right? I mean, they're all, can't really tell too much, if you will, okay? One time, one of them were around Salahuddin. He thought that was his entourage. You can look and see their faces. And some of them were Hashashin, assassins. They jump on Salahuddin. He's wearing his helmet and his chainmail and slash at his face. And we never saw a picture of him, but if you would see a picture of him, he'll probably have a pretty big scar on one side of his face. And they were able to stab his face, slice his face down. He fell to the ground, held the guy's hand. His guys jump on them. They get him. Like, oh, we got assassin. They were in our ranks. How can that be? Salahuddin gets up. Guess what happens? One of the guys jumps on him again. They don't even know who's around them. That's how they work. And jump on him again. And then one of his guys jump off. Well, who is these guys? And they don't even know who's there. Finally get him off. Another one comes with a sword. One of his guys puts his hand out to block that sword. Right? You can see what happens to that hand, right? It's no longer. But that's what they did to protect Salahuddin. And they were able to stop him there. Right? So these guys are like all over the place. And this is only the one time you're probably going to see this, where Salahuddin, I don't know if I have it somewhere on these slides, so all slides look kind of similar to me now, that he actually makes a treaty with the assassins. They have their own forts. And he's like, you know what? I got these guys in Aleppo and these emirs against me. The Crusaders don't like me, right? The Ismailis are trying to plot against me back in Egypt. And you assassins, I don't even know who you guys are anymore. I don't know who they are. But he meets with them and says, hey, let's make a treaty. I won't attack your forts. You stay away and you don't attack my lands. And I think he maybe gave them money or something like that, if you will, right? He doesn't work with the Crusaders like that. But you guys stay there, and then this is one of the only times you see him do something like this. And you can say that's probably a smart move, right? Because he can't really find out where they're at. And so he does that to just get them off his back, literally off his back, right? To make sure that they don't attack him. Okay. So that was pretty close. That would have been the end of Salahuddin at that time. Gumushtigin, once again, the emir of Aleppo, works with Raymond III. He's the count of Tripoli, the Principality of Tripoli, and works with him, works with the king of Jerusalem, and tries to get them to come and fight Salahuddin. Okay. He says, Raymond III sends a letter to Salahuddin, says that we're going to come, we're going to bring Crusader power against you, we're coming from Tripoli, we're coming from Antioch, right? Be aware of us. What does Salahuddin do? Did he make a treaty with the Crusaders? Nope. He goes to the outskirts of Antioch and starts attacking them. Now remember, he's at Aleppo and he's standing outside the gate, waiting for these guys to open the door. But he hears all these things are happening. So guess what? He has to now leave Aleppo, go to Antioch, which is off to the west, and go and start attacking them over there because the Crusaders are going to be coming to attack him. So he can't leave siege, or he can't wait for Aleppo too much. And so he attacks the outskirts of them. Raymond the third says, oh, I'm going to come and get you. And guess what? Salahuddin, by the time he gets there, Raymond the third leaves. Right? He doesn't want to deal with Salahuddin. They're all talk, if you will. Okay. So he leaves. Salahuddin doesn't even fight him. Right? Salahuddin has Aleppo, Mosul, right? Ismailis and the Crusaders all against this one man with 700 of his knights walking through Syria. Right? This is how much they want to make sure he doesn't take power or doesn't take over, if you will. Unfortunately, Muslims fighting against Muslims, at least, if you will. But Salahuddin doesn't want to attack. The Crusaders, that's a green light every day, right? But he doesn't attack Aleppo. He doesn't want to fight them at all. Saifuddin Ghazi the second, this is the leader in Mosul, right? He sends an army with his brother named Mas'ud to Aleppo to join them to lay siege against one of the areas of Salahuddin named in Hamma. So let's go back to Hamma. So Hamma is over here, okay? This is Aleppo. So from Mosul, this army comes, teams up with Aleppo to attack this area here. This is one of Salahuddin's area. Okay. Why? They need to push Salahuddin all the way back to Damascus. And then eventually get him out of Damascus and go back to Egypt and stay there and don't and die over there, right? They don't want him to come back over here. So they try to attack Hamma. Okay. So when they get there, when they get there, they lay siege to the town. Salahuddin, in great interest, decides to negotiate with them and not fight them. Said, okay, he tries, like I mentioned before, he doesn't want to fight Muslims, especially if you're related to Nur ad-Din. He knows, he respects Nur ad-Din very, very, very much. And you understand, these are the cousins of Nur ad-Din, this is the family of Nur ad-Din. So I'm not going to be caught in that, if you will. That's how much respect he has from there. So they go ahead and they make a treaty. They go away. There's no fighting there. Okay. Salahuddin has to give back a place called Homs and Hama. So he gives up these areas here. Homs and Hama is right here. He gives those areas back to them. Even though he took it back as he was going up to Aleppo, he has to give this back and go back over here to Damascus. That's a lot to give up. Just you don't want to fight them. And that's kind of wrong what they're doing. But like I said, bloodshed with Muslims is something he's trying to avoid as much as possible. Okay. He got to keep Damascus. He got them to agree that he will be the deputy of Ismail, 11-year-old Ismail. I'll be his deputy. So he got a little inside the door there. I'm not too sure what a deputy means in terms of Amir, but he gets some say of what kind of goes on. All right. So kind of politically, that kind of worked for him. Okay. The Zengids over there, they said, you know what? I want you to give up the city of Rahba. There's another area now they want him to give up. You can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to push him away. And there's no secret in it. Salahuddin answered very well. He says, you know what? Rahba is under Muhammad ibn Shirku. If you have the name Shirku in your name, you want to run away from that person. Okay. So this is the son of Shirku, the cousin of Salahuddin. He's not a Zangid. Okay. He's a Kurdish, right? Part of Salahuddin's family. So he said, I don't have no say in that city. If you want to take it over, that's your own thing. You have to go talk to him. Okay. So they decided, we're going to attack the borders of Hamma and get to that area there. Okay. Salahuddin says, now I have to fight them. If you guys are going to go attack them just because you want that area, Salahuddin now is forced to fight against them now, right? With his cousin there. They fight, they defeat them, push them back, all the way back to Aleppo. He goes in the doors of Aleppo, and what does he do? Sits there. Doesn't fight. So I'm not going to throw catapults against you. You're not getting no arrows. Nur ad-Din's son sitting in there. I'm not going to fight them. Right? So he leads siege out there once again. Doesn't do anything. What these guys do, and it's all psychological warfare too, they send out a 5-year-old girl to go talk to Salahuddin. 5-year-old girl. Who's that girl? Nur ad-Din's daughter. Okay. So they're trying to get to his heart. Nur ad-Din, Salahuddin sees Nur ad-Din's daughter. 5-year-old girl comes with these emirs around them. He knows exactly what they're doing. He cries when he sees them. He has so much love for Nur ad-Din. This is his daughter, right? He'll do anything to honor them. Okay. So they said, okay, you know what? Make a truce. Salahuddin has to give back the lands under we're truce. We're not going to fight. You could take Damascus and Homs and Hama, so they give that back to him. And the Zangids, we get to keep Aleppo. This is actually the fort in Aleppo today. Okay, we took some pictures of that last time. Okay, so Salahuddin leaves. Okay, you guys want to keep Aleppo? Keep Aleppo. Okay, and now he goes back to Damascus there, if you will. Okay. This is a big turning point. Once they do that, once the Zangids agree to, you get to keep Damascus, and you get to keep Homs, and you get to keep Hama, that's pretty much telling them that that's not in Zangid control anymore. Once you did that, the Caliph, the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad, says that Salahuddin, you have the authority over Egypt and Greater Syria. everything except Aleppo. Once he does that, that now just made Salahuddin a level up to the title of Sultan. This is where he gets the title of Sultan. Sultan Salahuddin, right? Which is like, I'm not saying, I don't know exactly what the hierarchy is, but it's up there, if you will, okay? Which really aggravated the Zengids. That, okay, we give you this up as a negotiation, right? You made him the Sultan of all of Syria except Aleppo. That's a big title. So what they do, they started printing coins with the name of Salahuddin on it now. Now he's becoming the Salahuddin that we know of now. Okay, he's getting a lot of power now. And the Abbasid Khalifa is now approved that he is the Sultan of Greater Syria and Egypt. He has my authority, if you will. This is the fall of the Zengids. Right when they hear that, they know these guys are going outside the door. Okay, but they're going to try to hold on as much as possible. Salahuddin gave up the right to Aleppo, and once he did that, he gave up the right to respect Ismail now. If you tell me Ismail does this, we're two different people now. Now it's going to be a little different story because he knows that they're being controlled, if you will. This leads to this battle called Tal al-Sultan. Tal in Arabic means like hill, if you will. Not necessarily a mountain, like a hill, if you, okay? So this place called Tal al-Sultan, Saifuddin Ghazi II from Mosul comes over, even though there's a truce. Remember what the first thing was? There's a truce. We're not going to fight Aleppo, and you guys are not going to fight us. We're both Muslims. We're not going to do anything. This guy in Mosul comes to an army. He goes to Aleppo and says, guys, let's attack Salahuddin. We can't have him a sultan. This next thing you know, Aleppo is going to go into control, and they're going to move over to my line, Mosul. So let's fight him. They're like, we have a truce. Didn't you guys remember that? We just did that. 5-year-old girl. Don't you remember all that thing? He's all, break the truce. Break it and let's attack him. Okay. These are the people that he's dealing with. They send letters to Raymond III in Antioch and Jerusalem to bring the Crusaders over. Let's all just squash Salahuddin and be better for everybody if we do this. This man, Salahuddin, has to go against, like, he almost has the world against him, subhanAllah. Right? But when Allah puts tawfiq, right, and barakah in your life, subhanAllah, it doesn't really matter who's around him. But they make a big mistake. They sent a messenger that had 2 letters. One supposed to go to Aleppo, and one supposed to go to Salahuddin. The one that goes to Salahuddin was supposed to say, oh, yes, we want to have a truce with you. No, we're not going to fight you. And we, thank you for, having good ties with us, etc. Other one was going to Aleppo to tell the king there, or the Zengids from the leader of Mosul, bring your army, we're going to attack. But the messenger switched it up. I forgot what color the envelope was and which one was it. I forgot it was in my right hand, my left hand. I forgot. I should have wrote the name on it. That would have helped me. And gives Salahuddin the wrong letter. He opens it up, says the leader of Aleppo, we're going to attack Salahuddin, join my forces. And then the other letter went over there. Okay. So Salahuddin is like, oh, God of Allah. All right. Tell you, if Allah gives you barakah, Allah gives you barakah. All right. So you know very well that this army is coming to get him now. Okay. So Salahuddin tells Raymond III, hey, I'll give a neutral stance to you. He knows that Raymond III is coming. So he makes a truce with the Crusaders, which is not wrong. The Prophet ﷺ did a truce with the Quraysh, right? But using the Quraysh to fight all the Muslims, that's a whole other thing. So he doesn't tell the Crusaders, fight against Aleppo. He says that between you and us, let's make a truce. I have some Crusader prisoners. I'll give them to you, but no fighting between us. He wants to focus his channel towards Aleppo. So Raymond III says, okay, release these people and we won't fight you. Okay. And so he does that. So now he doesn't have to worry about the Crusaders there. The Aleppo-Mosul army coming down this Tal al-Sultan battle is 20,000 soldiers. Okay. And remember, Salahuddin only had like 700, 1,000. So this is like outnumbered 1 to 20. That beats the Badr odds and the Uhud odds and the Khandaq odds, right? This is much greater. 1 to 20, that's, subhanAllah, how are you going to take that on, okay? Gumushtigin tells the Crusaders, hey, we need you to come with us and fight against Salahuddin. Remember, Salahuddin already had a truce with Raymond III. But they don't know that. So the leader in Michigan in Aleppo tells the Crusaders, hey, we'll do this for you. You guys remember Renaud de Chatillon? Remember the Shaitan of the Shaitans? We have him in prison for 16 years. I will let him go and give it back to you. You guys join our army. We're 20,000. We can up that number, squash Salahuddin, kill him out, and everyone's happy. They're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And Jocelyn, if you guys remember Jocelyn, the guy with the woman's name, but actually it was a man's name at that time, right? The Count of Edessa. They have him in prison. They're like, wow, two kings back on the scene. We'll take it. We'll fight with you all day long. They're like, okay. They make a shake on it. They get them. The Crusaders don't show up. It's a win-win deal for them. I don't know why you would believe them that they will help you in the first place but that's what they do. Okay? You just gave up Renaud de Chatillon. Like this guy, you guys remember what he did to the island of Cyprus? Remember, he killed Christians. Like butchered Christians. Imagine what it would do to Muslims, right? And so now he's back on the scene. And Jocelyn's back on the scene. And so Salahuddin gets reinforcements from Egypt. He knows there's a lot of numbers that's coming down to them. They have this battle here. It's an intense battle going on back and forth. And Salahuddin, subhanahu, by the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, goes and breaks through their cover, breaks through their ranks, and defeats this army. Pushes them back, all the way back to Aleppo. Saifuddin Ghazi goes back to Mosul. He escapes the battlefield, right? He doesn't want to die, okay? Salahuddin goes all the way to Aleppo. What does he do again? Just sits in front of the door. We'll let them do the other end, inshallah ta'ala.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Salah's at 8:30, right? All right. Stop. So we only have a couple of minutes here, inshallah ta'ala. So Salahuddin once again defeats their army there. He pushes them back to Aleppo, doesn't attack once again. He doesn't want to do that, even though he kind of disassociated himself with Ismail, but he still doesn't want to do this. Doesn't want to fight them more. So they have negotiations once again, right? Negotiation once again took place, unite against the Crusaders. They're our common enemy. You guys, we see what happened. We're fighting against each other. This is not good. So Aleppo, work with us. The enemy is the Crusaders, not ourselves. They said, okay, we'll do that. Okay. No breaking of treaties. Okay, that should be understood. We made a treaty last time. Why are you fighting me again? Hey, stop doing this. Are you agree to this? They said, okay, we are. If I was Salahuddin, I wouldn't believe it, but okay, they say, okay, right? Give back the citadel of Azza. There was a city, a town there that they wanted back. So he says, Salahuddin said, okay, take it, whatever you want, go ahead. That's no problem. So they negotiate these things. Once they did that, Gumushtigan in 1177, so the next year, he was arrested and tortured and killed in another conflict that happened there, and so he's out. So right when he's out, that gives the door open to Salahuddin to come into Aleppo. And once he does that, he has that whole area. I don't have a map anymore here. He has that whole area there for himself. Okay. Now he really has to worry about Mosul. Yeah, actually, let's go back to the map, actually. So remember, Mosul's over here. Remember Saifuddin Ghazi II that brought his army twice already to fight Salahuddin? He's still there. And he's like up to no good either. Okay. Once again, when these leaders came back, one thing I want to notice, my last thing I will mention here, is that they reinstated like bars again, alcohol into the society. They started doing all these other things. That's another thing that kind of made Salahuddin kind of mad also, right? So it wasn't that they all wanted power, but they started going against a lot of things that Nur ad-Din was working for, right? And so that's another issue that was kind of going on. So next week, inshallah ta'ala, we'll talk about how Salahuddin goes back, gets into Halab. Before going down to Jerusalem, which is way down here, he's going to work on this area here because this is still kind of not under control. Okay, this is the Euphrates River right here, kind of separates this area here, and Mosul is over here, quite far away. But he needs to take care of that also. So you're going to see that he's going to spend a lot of time here trying to get this under control. He don't have to worry about them trying to attack him before he could go and work down all the way back down to Jerusalem. And so we probably will get into Jerusalem, inshallah ta'ala, next week and go from there. So we'll try to, once again, start at 7 o'clock next week, inshallah ta'ala. Then we'll make a dua. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. Tabarakta ya dhu jalal ikram. Allahumma inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول